Hey there guys, in today's video I'm going to be focusing on how to effectively engage ground targets with the Liberator solo and with a gunner. It's always surprised me that more people don't use the Liberator as a close air support weapon, because it is incredibly useful as one and you can do a huge amount of damage in a very short period of time and then get back out. However, before we start, I'm going to go over the two most important skills that I feel any pilot can have, and I'm going to be reiterating this at the start of every tutorial video I make from now on, because they're just really that important, and the quicker you learn to fly by these two rules, the sooner you'll find yourself being effective in a Liberator, and really in any part of the game. The first rule is to practice until you know your limits, and then stick within those limits. Know what you're capable of, and what your Liberator is capable of. Look over a situation before you go in and make the call on whether or not you think you can handle that. If you don't think you can, it's usually a good idea. Back off, look at it again, find a different angle, and go in when you have the advantage. The second rule is be patient. Wait for your opportunity. Especially when you're in a solo lib, you really can't afford to force a situation. I try to use my Liberator almost like a sniper rifle. I pick out one target, I make a note of where anything else in the area that might hurt me is, and then I wait for my opportunity, I move in, I take out my target, and I get away. If you get greedy, or if you try to move in, take out a target before you're ready, you're probably going to get over your head, and you're going to find that you die a lot more. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about how to kill things on the ground. Firstly, the majority of these tactics are going to rely on you having a Dalton for your belly gun and a tank buster with the magazine upgraded to at least 42 rounds. You can apply the same principle if you're flying with a Zephyr, however you'll find that you have to spend a little more time over your target and in danger. The tank buster magazine size is really a must if you plan on engaging a lot of ground targets and enjoy actually killing those targets. Now, an important thing to know before fighting armor is how positional damage works in Planetside. Wrels talks about this in a little more detail in one of his videos, and I will include a link in the description if you want to check that out. But the main idea is that directional damage is done not based on where your rounds actually hit the target, but where your shot originated from in relation to that target. This means that as long as you're behind and relatively low on a tank when you're shooting it, you'll get rear armor damage no matter where your rounds hit. Although, I have found that if you're lining up correctly, they'll mostly all land on the rear anyway, and you probably won't notice a difference. Now, the other thing you need to know is whether your target even takes positional damage. Main battle tanks and lightnings will both take positional damage, which means you'll do more damage from the top and the side and the rear than you will from the front, the rear being the highest damage. Sunderers, flashes, and harassers take the same amount of damage regardless of the direction you engage them from, with one exception. If a sunderer has blockade armor, they will take significantly less damage from the rear, so you actually want to be engaging a blockade armor sunderer from the side, the front, or the top. You'll be able to tell if a Sunder has blockade armor by the fact that it'll have large plates bolted onto the side of it, much like, well, armor. Alright, so let's now actually move on to how to engage tanks with your Liberator. Since many of you watching this are probably newer to flying Liberators, or you're having some difficulty with them, I'm just going to tell you that for now, your rule is no engaging tanks from any direction but behind, especially if you're solo liberating. Assuming that you land the majority of your shots on rear armor and you have your magazine upgraded, you should, with a bit of practice in VR and real life, have no problem one-clipping any tank from behind unless it's a Vanguard that pops their shield, and there's really nothing you can do about that. The general strategy that I like to use, and that you'll see me use quite often, is that I spot my target and then use the minimap to determine which direction they're facing. I position my Liberator behind and a little ways above them, and then fall in from a fairly steep angle to right behind the tank, where I know that I can unload one clip and just instantly kill them. I don't have to worry about their gun turning around and killing me, and I feel pretty safe. Now, this process is made a little bit easier if you have a dedicated gunner, especially when you're learning, since they can kind of clean up after you. If you mess up your shot, you let something get away, you can just belly towards it, and your Dalton gunner can typically finish off the target in one shot, assuming you got a good number into it. However, it is perfectly viable to do solo. You just have to be a little more careful, and if you find that you do have to switch to your Dalton to finish off a target real quick, you need to be careful that you don't go too soon and have your Liberator flip upside down and kill you, because I've had that happen, and it's not fun. Now, attacking a tank is a relatively dangerous thing if you're not doing it correctly. The main gun does incredible damage to a Liberator. An AP round will two-shot, or 4 in the case of a Prowler, your Liberator, and that can really happen before you even know what hit you. The problem is especially hard when fighting Vanguards or lockdown Prowlers due to the fact that they have an incredibly high bullet velocity and very minimal bullet drop, which makes it relatively easy to hit a low-flying Liberator. Mag Riders aren't quite as much of a problem because their main gun can't aim as high, and even with AP they have really bad velocity and a lot of drop. However, don't underestimate it and think, oh, I can just roll into the front and kill this Mag Rider, because you will get shot. But in general, you don't want to be engaging anything from the front. You want to come in behind, and preferably when they don't know that you're there, because if they do know that you're there, even if they get one shot off before you kill them, you're now at 50% health, and if there's another tank in the area, you're dead. If there's air in the area, you're dead. So to sum up, you engage armor when you have the advantage, when they're not looking at you, and preferably when there aren't any other tanks in the area that could shoot you while you're trying to kill their buddy. Now, moving on to sunderers, there are 3 basic strategies for engaging them with the Liberator. The first one is just high-level bombing, fairly self-explanatory. You hover or move over the target and you bomb it with the belly gun. It's effective and you stay relatively safe, however it takes a decent amount of time, and let's be honest, it's pretty boring for everyone involved. Your second option is what I like to call the 1-2 punch. This is most effective with a gunner, and you essentially have to have your magazine upgraded to at least 42 rounds for your tank buster. What you do is the pilot dives in, unloads at close range with the tank buster, and then as they fly away, the Dalton gunner lands 1 or 2 shots on the sunderer to finish it off. If you get all of your tank buster rounds on target and at close range, the Dalton will one-shot finish it if it doesn't have blockade armor. However, this is relatively hard to pull off anymore because about a month ago the sunderer gained a resistance to tank buster damage, and it's hard to get it low enough for it to be one-shot finished by a Dalton. However, if you do manage to pull this off, you have an incredibly quick kill on the sunderer, and if it's a loaded one, you can often get the majority of the people in it along with the sunderer because they don't have time to get out before they're dead. Now, if I have a gunner, this is my preferred method for dealing with it, or if it's been damaged and I think I can finish it off in one tank buster clip, I'll lead with the tank buster. However, if I'm solo and the sunderer is at full health, I like to soften it up a bit before attacking. Essentially what I'll do is I'll hover over it, or as I'm moving in, I'll try to fire 2 Dalton rounds, maybe 3 or 4 if it's blockade, into the sunderer, making sure that they're direct hits. That means that when I go in with my tank buster, I can finish it off in one magazine, and I don't have to worry about it shooting me as I fly away. The reason I like to do that is that when you get closer to a sunderer, your tank buster does get more dangerous. However, the sunderer also gets more dangerous. A basilisk or bulldog will do incredible damage to your Liberator when you get up close and they're landing all of their shots. So you really want to minimize how much time you're spending right up next to the sunderer. If you don't have a gunner, it's relatively difficult to tank bust it and then go into Dalton and finish it off as you fly away, while not spending a little more time than you want to in the danger zone. However, if you lead with the Dalton, you're able to get the sunderer to a low enough health that when you get in close and engage with the tank buster, you're going to kill the sunderer outright with the tank buster, and as you fly away, you don't have to worry about the guns on it shooting you and potentially killing you. Your 2 other priority targets when you're in a Liberator are going to be dual bursters and AA towers. Now, both of these can be a little bit tricky to take on because they do fairly decent damage to aircraft. If there's only one dual burster or one AA tower in the area that is active, you're not going to have too much of a problem because they can't kill you very quickly. AA turrets are fairly simple to kill. You can just go right up to them and tank bust kill them in one clip and then get back away. Dual bursters are also easy to kill with the tank buster if you get close and have good accuracy. However, if they're behind cover or if they're moving around, it can become fairly tricky to hit them with, and a lot of times it'll be easier to just rely on your Dalton gunner to kill them for you. That being said, my general rule on engaging AA turrets and dual bursters is that one of either, not a problem. I can kill them fairly easily and they're not going to be able to do enough damage to me to be a serious threat. If there are two AA towers, I'm still not too worried about them. I'm fairly confident that I can kill one before they even know I'm there and then take out the other one. Two dual bursters poses a little bit more of a problem purely because of their maneuverability. If there are 3 towers or 3 dual bursters, then you're better off really just going to a different area and coming back a little bit later when there's not quite as much AA in the area. Well, the only other 2 things that you're going to have to worry about on the ground are flashes and infantry. A flash, yeah, just kind of look at it for a while with your Liberator and the flash will probably blow up. Infantry, the only ones that pose any threat to you at all are heavy assaults, so obviously you want to prioritize them when you're taking out infantry. If they have a lock-on, it should be fairly easy to trace where the lock-on came from and have your belly gunner try to take them out. If there's not more than 2 or 3 in an area, they really pose no threat to you, as lock-ons don't do that much damage to a Liberator. So you can really take them out at your leisure with your belly gun or with your tank buster if you're feeling tricky. So the last thing I want to talk about before I wrap this up is using VR training to improve your skills with the Liberator and especially the tank buster. It's really an invaluable resource because you can go in there and you can learn the kind of damage that the tank buster does. You can learn what range you can kill targets at, how close you need to be, the drop, and just really how to use it effectively. I like to go in there occasionally to warm up. You just go in, kill a couple of targets, it'll kind of get you up to speed on what you need to be doing, and then when you go out and you're playing against real people, you're going to be much more confident in your abilities and you're going to know what you need to do to kill your targets. Alright, well, hopefully this video was helpful for you and you now have a better idea of how to engage ground targets with your Liberator. If you have any questions, anything you want answered in future videos, leave a comment down below, send me a message, or hop on Watterson and come play with me sometime. If you like this video, it'd be great if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.